Good morning. My name is Anita Flanagan, and I am Eastern Band Cherokee. And today I'm going to read to you from Aunt Mary Tell Me a Story, written by Mary Chiltosky. And Mary was one of our very well-known storytellers in Cherokee. My story today is Why the Possum's Tail is Bare. Long before the rabbit lost his tail, he had a long and beautiful tail, and so did the possum. Every time Rabbit came along, he taunted Possum about having the most beautiful tail of all the animals. Possum would simply say, "I have a beautiful tail too, Rabbit." So much was said about the various tails because of the rabbit's loud boasting that the animals decided to meet on the ceremonial grounds and settle once and for all which animal's tail was the most beautiful. Many of the animals were proud of their tails, and they all planned to be in on the contest. At sunrise on the day of the contest, they were all to meet and compete. During the week of the contest, they talked of nothing but the tail contest. Some of them were worried about coming across the river. They could get across on trees that were blown down, and the water wasn't high. But they worried that they might get their tails messed up crossing the river. Possum was talking to his friend the beaver. "I just have one problem getting to the contest." "Oh, you won't have any trouble at the river," said Beaver. "I'm not worried about getting across the river," said Possum. "It's just that the weeds are so thick and it's muddy around the river. By the time I get to the contest, my tail will catch on twigs and weeds and it'll drag in the mud. I'll look like a rag. I'll never in the world beat that pesky rabbit." Well, word got back to the tricky boasting rabbit that Possum was worried about his tail dragging. He thought. His friend Cricket came along and saw the look on Rabbit's face and said, "What's with you, Rabbit? You look like you have a problem." "Yes, Cricket," said Rabbit. Who knew how to get to people and do favors better than Rabbit? "I need a favor from a friend." "I'm your friend," said the Cricket, "and I'm not too busy. What do you need?" "Now, Cricket," said Rabbit, "I'm going to pay you for this favor, but it must be done very carefully. Do you understand?" The Cricket said he understood, and he would do whatever Rabbit asked. "Go to see the Possum," said Rabbit. "Offer to wrap his fine tail in snakeskin so that he will get to the contest with a beautiful and fluffy tail." "What do you want to help the Possum keep his tail beautiful, Rabbit?" asked the Cricket. "Oh, that's not all," said the smirking Rabbit. "While you wrap, you carefully use your nice sharp razor, and Possum's tail loses all the hair." So Cricket started up the mountain by Owl Knob to Possum's house. Cricket was known as the best barber on the boundary, so the Possum would be glad to have him comb and brush his tail. Cricket planned to explain that he would wrap the tail in snakeskin so that it'd be nice and fluffy for the contest. When Cricket got to Possum's house, the nervous Possum was glad to have his help. He welcomed Cricket for the night. "You are so tired," said Cricket. "Tomorrow is such an important day for you. Just relax and go to sleep, if you wish. I'll comb and brush and wrap your beautiful tail slowly and carefully so you can just drift off to sleep." This was just what Possum thought he needed. He lay down and tucked his little head and relaxed while the barber worked. Cricket combed and brushed and wrapped a tiny bit of the lovely tail. It felt so good that not long into the night, Possum was fast asleep. Carefully, Cricket took out his very sharp barber razor, and as he pretended to brush and comb, he carefully, slowly took off all the hair of each little bit of the tail. He then wrapped each little bit in tight snakeskin. Shear and wrap. Slowly shear and wrap. Before the night was over, the possum had a tail completely safe in the snakeskin. It would not drag in the mud, and it would not tangle in the weeds and twigs, and it had not a single hair on it. Cricket went outside to the back of Possum's house and threw the hair over the hill behind the house, away from where Possum would be traveling to the contest. The next morning, Cricket and Possum traveled to the ceremonial grounds. Possum had never been so excited. Several of the animals had spent the night at the ceremonial grounds, and they had the fires ready. They told everyone where to sit and what order they would follow in the contest. First, the little chipmunks and squirrels and the animals paraded around with their little tails. They were very proud of their little tails, and the audience applauded them very politely. But everyone knew bigger tails were to be shown. Some of the animals with almost no tail at all paraded them, holding them nicely. Then it was time for the bigger animals. Cricket said to Possum, "It's almost time for you to go. I have my razor with me. Just as it's time to go, I'll cut away the snakeskin, and you can shake out the tail, and it'll be the most beautiful and unusual tail in the contest." Mr. Possum was so excited he could hardly hear the cricket. He just listened for the animal before him, and when his name was called, the cricket cut away the snakeskin, and Possum proudly strutted into the center of the ceremonial grounds. When he started around the circle, he heard a strange sound. It was not happy. It was not a happy sound at all. And it was not a sad sound. It was a surprised, gasping murmur, starting low and growing louder and louder and louder. Possum could not understand what was happening until he looked back and saw his completely naked tail. When Mr. Possum saw his tail, he fell down in the middle of the ring and played like he was dead. To this day, we see a possum with a bare tail who plays like he is dead when he faces danger or he gets surprised. And that's my story of how the possum has a bare tail.